You briefly kind of mentioned it with your wife, high school sweetheart,
Yeah.
married, slight break. So the work that I do, obviously with porn addiction, and there's a lot of betrayal trauma that we deal with, both on the male and female side. So I just want to kind of get your thought process as you were kind of navigating, making that decision of getting back with your ex-wife. Just kind of
Yeah.
how did you process that whole decision? What did you learn about yourself, and really what can you just kind of pass on to the guys and the females that are just dealing with, relationship trauma, betrayal trauma, cheating
Yeah.
on, just really just kind of
All that stuff.
speak to that decision.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot. This is I'll have to lay a simple foundation as best I can before we kind of answer it. But yeah, we were high school sweethearts. Had 3 kids, came out of the NFL, everything was good, and then everything got real bad. I lost my identity from football as the NFL guy. I was done, and I needed to find it again. I was finding it in a gym I was building. So I'd be gone from 6 a.m. to 10 p.m. and she had newborn twins and a 4-year-old, and I'm gone. And so next thing you know, separation over 9 months just easily kind of creeps in because I'm not home. I'm trying to build this business, but I'm also not making money. So I'm not supporting. It's just stressful. The house is about to go on, to foreclosure. It's just nuts. And, come to find out on a trip somewhere that she's having an affair. And for me in foster care broke me because now my family's not intact. And that was going to be like huge issue. And it's tough, man. And for a lot of years, I got some dark bottoms. And for a lot of years, it was all her fault. How dare you? How could you? What's going on? You horrible human. I shamed her to death. Right. And then what ends up happening is I the best way I can explain it is kind of had some of these moments of like I call it come to Jesus moments. Genuinely, I had to come back to Jesus at some certain points of doing the Playboy stuff and traveling around, and just it was so unfulfilling and so empty, man. Lots of people but super lonely. And what ended up happening was I get to this point where I don't even know how it worked out the way it did, but she on the other side of me, she had grown. At one point, I realized, you know what? As a human, as a man, I am the common denominator in all my problems. Everything going on in my life, I'm the middle of it somewhere. And so if my relationships suck, the business isn't good, I'm not a good father, my health is kind of off. I'm the guy involved in all those. So if I figure out what that guy's up to, and I started having some internal conversation and realizing, you know what? At the end of the day, in this marriage situation, because one of the questions was how'd the marriage end up? And I realized, she made a really crappy choice. I take nothing from that. It was a dumb decision. Like you don't do that, right? And the way she did it was very heinous. It caused a lot of problems. Uh, it ended up with somebody not being killed, but someone being shot in the leg, like a bunch of weird stuff. Yeah, I shot someone in the leg. Different conversation for a different time. And so ended up like I'm talking crazy, right? Haywire, custody battles, all that. And when I got to the point of realizing, you know what? Anthony needed to improve. Where could he have improved in a marriage? Well, he wasn't a great husband. She made a crappy choice, but it took 2 individuals in a relationship to get to a point where she felt she even needed to make a choice like that. She shouldn't have been presented with that option, right? She shouldn't have had to even make the choice. And I had a role in that. And it really was difficult because I had to take back a little bit of pain with that power. And then the forgiveness kind of conversation happened. Like, how do you forgive someone that can do that to you? Because you just know she cheated. You don't know how and what, and there's some depth to that thing. And a lot of people are like, you're an effing idiot to do that. I was like, well, let's look at it this way. We were kids, 16, didn't know who the hell we were. We were just, we seriously at 16 to 3 kids and businesses and life, we didn't know who we were without each other, right? There was that weird kind of bubble. On top of that, she wasn't given the tools. If anything, it was more that she was selfish more than she was malicious. And
Mm-hmm.
so I can forgive someone who's being selfish because if they can wise up to it, which she eventually did, and I can forgive someone who genuinely needs to have that because I needed my kids to have a better mom, and she wasn't being that because I felt the shame was a weight that I wouldn't lift off her, and she kept living in that and medicating it away and hanging out. Right? There's a lot. There's like my kids need a good mom. She does have a heart. She's a great mom when she's in that space. I was like, how can I help? And it's like, you know what? Forgive her, pull the shame off. So I get what I want, a great mom for my kids, because I didn't have that for myself in foster care. So she came to be a little bit better. Someone gave her a book. She found faith. And it was amazing, man. God brought us together 3 years later after craziness in a very interesting way that wasn't intentional. And the best way I can explain it is we showed up, together in Costa Rica on a vacation together, but not together at all. And I got to meet someone for the first time that I'd known for 16 years. And it was a very different conversation, very different ownership, very different growth, and a different perspective of what I wanted to have for my life when I'm 60 years old. I want my kids to have mom and dad in the house. And if we could do it because we wanted to do it, not because we wanted it for the kids or somebody else, we could make it happen. And there was a conversation about trying again. And we tried, and it wasn't like hop in, everything's gonna be great. We've worked and we still work. And it's a consistent process. It's a marriage, man. But there is such a rooted, deep foundation to this marriage that has 100% trust and respect and care and the ability to secede the ego when it needs to. It's a living, breathing entity that I love more than I can put words into. And so that whole thing was like understanding that she is not a perfect human. She didn't have the tools. And if I can find a way to do one thing, which is very special if you can in a relationship, most of the time one person's on one side of the table and I'm on the other side of the table, and we push the problem back and forth. It's your fault, your fault, your fault. When you can walk around the table and help by grabbing that problem and pulling it into the both of you and solving it, it's a game changer. So like we're talking about porn, right? How do you get in the same side of the table as your wife or your husband, and you both pull this problem and say, how can we help get this thing fixed, even if it's getting it fixed for you? So when you do that, man, it's a teamwork thing. You solve the problem. Now you're on the same team, and there's no, you don't even, trust issues are not a conversation I would even have in my marriage now. It doesn't exist. Like, her stepping out doesn't exist. That lack of love or lack of connection or it doesn't exist, because there's just such a bonded, deep connection that it all changes, and it's amazing. So someone's in that space right now, you really got to spend time figuring out what is it that you need to do, who you got to be in this relationship, and what does the relationship need of you. And sometimes if it's that, it's forgiveness and helping move past it.